that we have with such a big market, but we believe that it can be played favorably, not only for Europeans, but for others benefiting from this proximity with Europe. As I said, we have a direct implication of government officials. We have high attractive set of incentives. We can go back to it if you need any more clarifications about it, but I believe that the incentives that we offer are quite competitive. And also, when you are investing in free zone, because I forgot to mention earlier when I was talking about the industrial parks, that some of them are free zones. And of course, when you are in those free zones, then you benefit from yet other incentives, which give even more advantages to investors. We have a whole wide range of parameters that make the business environment in Morocco a business-friendly environment, such as the non-double taxation agreements, the protection and promotion and investment agreements. We are one of the very few non-OECD members to be members of the investment committee. And of course, we have signed all the major multilateral agreements. Basically, all these legal framework, the legal framework in Morocco has been reformed, has been modernized, and it's constantly developing. And as I was saying earlier, the fiscal incentives. Now, before I really thank you for your attention, I just wanted to mention one thing. I just wanted to remind, for those of you who don't know it, and announce for those of you who know it, who don't know it, sorry, that we are going to make a roadshow in the Gulf countries at the end of this month, starting from Dubai on May 28th until June 5th. We're going to go through the whole region with a big delegation, and we're going to go with projects, concrete projects to present to the investors in the region, because we believe that it is the right approach, not only doing conferences and doing presentations that are general presentations, but actually bringing projects and then discussing on B2B basis with international investors. So this roadshow will start on the 29th in Dubai, and there are some flyers in the room that you can take, and so that you can have all the information about this roadshow. Thank you for your attention.
Mr. Sigil Massi, thank you very much for this excellent presentation. We are here in Morocco, is a country with a vision. Morocco has clear ideas where it wants to go, what sectors the country wants to develop, and the sectors and sub-sectors actually have been already identified. Vast opportunities of investment, very large variety of opportunities. Now I would like to open the floor for questions to address to Mr. Sigil Massi. Yes? We have Martin.
I really want to comment Sigil Massi for a wonderful presentation on Morocco. I think it was good. Yeah. I was just curious, in one of your initial slides, you mentioned that Morocco has been able to control inflation to 2%. And as an economist, I'm really curious because I imagine inflation is a factor of supply and demand. And there are so many factors in interest rates, scarcity, etc. So I wonder, how do you do that?
Okay. I wish the Minister of Finance was here to be able to answer the question. But let's put it this way. In the early 80s, we had a very, very high inflation rate. As a matter of fact, we had a high inflation rate. We had a very high external debt. I didn't talk about the external debt, but it was very, very high. We had public deficit. I mean, all the macroeconomic figures in the years 82, 83 until 85 were really negative. And so with the World Bank and the IMF at that time, we put together a major framework policy to achieve the balance of the macroeconomic indicators. Okay, so all the indicators were supposed to go from where they were and then go down. Inflation had to go down, external debt had to go down, etc. So there was a big framework policy that has been implemented. And it became, as we have gone through that policy, it became Morocco's policy to never go back to the problems that we have witnessed at one point. I'm saying that because there are eternal debates within Morocco. For instance, when the growth of the GDP is low in some years, for example, in the early 90s, it was low, and there was some debates between economists in our country. Some of them who would say we have to stick to controlling macroeconomic indicators, even if it costs us less growth, and others who would say we need to have more growth because we need to have more job creation, we need to have more exports, etc. We need to have more growth, even if the cost of that is a little bit more inflation. So you will have in any country, in all of the countries here represented, you always have a debate between those who match between growth of GDP and inflation rate. And those would say, well, let's make one go this way and the other go the other way. We have always stuck to the first policy line, which is to maintain sound macroeconomic indicators. Now, technically, the best way to control inflation is to control the interest rate. Okay? And so you have the central bank playing a leading role. And so the interest rate never went up. They only went down, of course, through the years and gradually and through the control of the central bank. It is not a government decision, the interest rate. It's a regulation of the market, but with a regulatory agency, which is the central bank. And I think that in any country, when it's a liberal economy, the central bank, this is exactly the same in Europe with the European Central Bank, plays the role of controlling. You know that in Europe, there's a big debate about the level of the euro versus the dollar, okay, whether it should be a little bit less to be able to compete better with the dollar. And yet, the central bank says, no, we have to, okay, I can do 0.1 or 0.2, but we have to keep the overall balance. So I never liked the word control, because you don't really control things 100%, but you try to manage inflation. You manage inflation, and it is a fact that in Morocco we don't suffer from the negative effects of volatility of inflation. You know, just to broaden a little bit the discussion, one of the things the investors dislike is volatility and non-visibility. So you need to give them visibility, because when they enter a market, they don't want to not be sure that the level of the currency in the country where they are, the legal framework will change, or inflation will be picking up after 6 months. So you need to give them this visibility. And we have given to this line of policy a priority, as I said, as a political decision, because there maybe have been other voices that perhaps voiced other things.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sirjem. Yes, we have a question here from Yang Fu. Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. First, I would like to congratulate your government and your agencies for the very impressive achievements you have made in making your country more attractive for foreign investors.
Thank you.
You mentioned that, for example, your government has made efforts in making, for example, the land available for foreign investors. And my question is related to the human resources. I would like to hear your opinions about, what advantages and disadvantages your countries have, especially compared to the most close competitors. And also how much flexibilities foreign investors enjoy in terms of employment contract. Thank you.
It's a very good question. Human resources are always important and a priority. Morocco is a country of 32 to 33 million people. So there is availability for human resources. There's also, during the last years, there have been important investments in improving education and training. But we know that it's a major challenge for us because as we are developing all those strategies, we need to be able to do what we are doing, but to double our efforts, because the level of requirements of the companies as they are developing their businesses in Morocco will increase. So we as government need to also to increase the offer of human resources. When I talked earlier about aerospace, now aerospace, just to give this example, is a line of production in Morocco of about 100 companies, all of them foreign companies, because we don't have any local companies in the aerospace business. So it's 100, it's actually 98 to be precise, 98 companies, 98 foreign companies, and they today employ 7,500 people for a business value of little less than 1 billion euro, export of course. Now, if you take this line of production, just to make a very small comparison, textile is 300,000 people working in textile. But just to go back to aerospace, it is obvious that for aerospace business, you need very qualified human resources. It's not like for some lines of production in agriculture and textile where you just need the quantity. In aerospace, you need to develop also the quality and the highly skilled labor force. So we need to enhance our program of the number of engineers, etc. And this is why we inaugurated last Friday, as a matter of fact, I mean, just 5 or 6 days ago, less than 1 week, we inaugurated in Casablanca the l'Institut des métiers de l'aéronautique, the institution for aerospace, yes, high school of aerospace. This unit, this training and education unit, has been built. It has been inaugurated physically. It's a place like this. It has been built, and it's already there are already some students in it. Within the space of the aerospace industrial zone. Okay, so in the same area, so that the companies that are present can have the land, as I talked about earlier, and they have an institution just across the street. This institution provides the training and the qualification of students that they can then have working for them, but they can also do training for those workers who are there, who can go and then have specific trainings in these institutions. And we are multiplying these units because they come as a complement to the national program of engineers, because once you have an engineer, he can have 4 or 5 years of university, but these are general qualifications. Then if he needs to go to aerospace, then he needs some specific training. So we do that in harmony, to have both the national program, but also the specific sectorial institutions that provide the companies with their specific needs. Now, that being said, let me just remind you, it appeared, but I went perhaps too quickly, that, for example, for this aeronautics, aerospace business, we are at 7,500, but aiming at 15,000 in 2015. My guess is that we will do more, because when I go now abroad and discuss with the international investors, there's so much demand for that. Because the aerospace business, and I'm sorry to be speaking about this line of production specifically, but it's just an illustration about other sectors. This line of business is becoming so competitive. The prices are going down. The fuel is going up. Competition with the low-cost companies is beginning to be more and more tougher and tougher. You have so many, plus all the environmental issues and parameters, etc. So the major companies, they have to cut the costs somewhere. And they have to look all over the world where they can have a production at a better cost, wherever that can be. So I receive in my office in Rabat companies who come and knock on my door and say, well, I am in Dallas, the USA, and I have to move and I want to go to somewhere else because I have to cut prices. I have Mexico, I have Poland, I have the Philippines, I have Malaysia, I have Morocco. What's your story? So I tell them my story, and we start talking. And they hear to everybody's stories, which is normal. And at the end of the day, they make a decision. But my point is that this sector is witnessing, in Morocco, a very strong growth. And my guess is that we will probably go beyond the 50,000 targeted. But for that, we have to always keep in mind that we have to have a light that will say that, well, you need to do more efforts because of the pressure on human resources.
Well, thank you very much. Having been involved myself in the work concerning the investment guide of Morocco, and more recently the investment guide for the Oriental region, which will be publishing soon, I think one successful aspect is also the link between industry and the university. Yes. The example of, for instance, one of the major companies which is established in Morocco, which was Esqueli, and they really need highly skilled engineers in the informatics industry. So what they did was really to establish a link with the university, Mohammed First, which is in Oujda, and they train their own engineers. So that's another, as I say, link between university and industry. We can take some more questions, and then we were going to stop because we'll have to move. Yes?
Hello. I thank you very much your presentation and also Your Excellency for showing us this roadmap of investments in Morocco. My question is, as an investor, what do you think, keeping in mind what's going on in the region, what do you think that can convince me, or the factors that can convince me to come to your country, which is mine also, to invest in Morocco?
It's a political question.
my question is just to summarize in few words, to convince me to bring my money to your country, to Morocco, which is mine also, and to invest instead of investing in other countries in my region, in our region.
Well, let me put it this way. I strongly do not believe that what's happening in the region and the fact that it's not happening in my country is good news for me. I don't believe that, because my future, my strengths, I'm sorry, when I say my, it's Morocco, as Morocco. Morocco's future, Morocco's strength lies in regional integration. And for that regional integration, we need, in the Arab countries, in the African countries, a better environment and more dynamics in the economics, and so that we can be a broader market. Really, I'm saying that I'm convinced about that. Let me just give one figure. I told a journalist earlier this morning, I said, from Morocco to Egypt, not to mention all the Arab countries, but just North Africa, from Morocco to Egypt, population-wise, it's Russia. It's Russia. So you see the market, how large it is. Recently, a study made by a Boston Consulting Group showed that Africa, as a continent, of course it's 50+ countries, but as a continent, it's India. It's India. This is the reality. And so the broader the markets are, the better it is for us. And this is a necessity. And let me just say how frustrated we are in Morocco that the MENA region is the poorest region in regional integration in the world. In the world. Well, that being said, on short-term basis, since there's nothing I can do about it sitting in this chair, on short-term basis, what I can tell you is that considering the stability there is in Morocco nowadays, and all the benefits and attractiveness of our market, I have never seen so many international investors visiting Morocco, not yet implementing their project, obviously, but visiting Morocco with their case studies as I have during the last 3 months. I'm very frank by saying I have never seen so many international investors visiting Morocco as I have in these last 3 or 4 months, and coming from all over the world. Asian countries are increasingly interested in our part of the world. And let me just say one thing, referring to my own experience and to situations I've been faced with. I was in China recently in one of my travels, and I talked to Chinese companies willing to invest in Morocco. My speech at the beginning was to make them invest in Morocco to be able to export, because I know that we are a very small market for Chinese investors, but for them to export to Europe, because it seemed to be obvious that they would aim Europe. They're not. They're not. They're aiming Africa. And so I changed the profile of my speech while I was negotiating with them, while I'm still negotiating with them. And I can tell you that Asian economies, and I'm sorry if I'm talking perhaps under the control of some Asian representatives here in the room, but they are more interested in our part of the world for our, of course, local market, but also for the African continent, because they're already, they have strategies on Europe. They don't need the MENA region for Europe. They could do so, of course, they could do so. But they certainly need a country like Morocco to be able to enter Africa. And this is why I strongly believe in the Africanity of Morocco. This is really something on which I think that Morocco is a country that has a vocation, natural vocation of playing more largely a link between Europe, the Middle East, and Africa, and continuing to develop its strategic links with our continent, because we are Africans.
Well, Mr. Sijil Masih, thank you so much. I think we have a very interesting exchange, and I'm happy to hear that there is a whole road show which is being organized at the end of the month. So I would like to wish you all the best, and UNCTAD stands ready for any assistance, any support that you might think, it is needed. So.